Hi everyone. In the recording of this video, there was an issue with the video. The audio is fine, so that's not a problem. You can listen to it normally, but the video didn't record properly. So you'll see my previous team for most of the video that I had done in December. You'll see that on the screen. And then towards the end of the video, it'll flip to my new team with all of the changes. So during the video you'll hear me speak about all the changes, you just won't see me make them, and then at the end of the video you'll see my new team with all the changes, so apologies for that. Hi and welcome to Fantasy Footy Fan, it's Jeff here. So in my last video, if you've had a chance to watch it, that was my December team. As soon as Team Picker opened, that was the team that I was keen on. Now, since then, I've actually made quite a lot of changes. So the team that you're looking at the moment was my previous team. I'm going to go through the changes I've made. I'm going to explain in detail why I've made those changes as well. So we'll get straight into it. I think as soon as Supercoach opened, one of the things that I noticed straight away, and likely you have as well, was that all the value was in the forward line. And a lot of our forward lines are going to be somewhat vanilla, I would say. They'll probably have the same 4, 5, even 6 players in that forward line. The other thing I've noticed as well is that a lot of the value is in the midfield rookies, particularly the high-end rookies. Now again, with rookies, we kind of take it with a grain of salt. We'll wait till round 1 to see if they're named, but a lot of the talk and the word going around about the draft this year was just the quality of the rookies, and the word is that a lot of these rookies are going to be playing in round 1, and some of them we'll actually get to see in round 0. So hopefully they play well there and they get a game in round 1. So I've structured my team around the value in the forward line and the value in the midfield with those rookies. So I'll go into explaining now why I've made the changes I've made to this team. Now, if you have any questions or thoughts, please, I encourage you, leave them in the comment section. I love talking about Supercoach. I'll be more than happy to engage with you. Starting off, where it all began with these changes was seeing Tom Lynch. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but I saw Tom Lynch, obviously not personally, but through some videos, saw him at training. He was training really well, looked good, and looked in really good form at training. Now again, I'll get into Tom Lynch a little bit later, soft tissue injuries, history, age, all these things. I'll cover them all a bit later. But I saw the value with Tom Lynch, and that's what started everything off. And so the first thing I did was I wanted to get Tom Lynch onto my ground at F6. Now, before I continue, there might be some of you out there that's just listening and not actually watching the video. So for those of you who are listening, I'll just quickly run through the team I have at the moment, and then I'll get into Lynch and a few of the other decisions I've made. So just to start with, at D1, I've got Flanders. D2 is Sheasel. I've got Mills and Coleman, and then El Hawley and Leake on my field for my defense, and then I've got Jack Sinclair and Riley Bice on my bench for my defenders. That's what I've currently got. In my midfield, I've got Bont, Nick Dacos, Walsh, Oliver, Ashcroft, Jagger Smith, Levi Ashcroft, and Josh Smiley. So I've got the 3 big primos. Oliver would be a primo normally, but he's now a mid-pricer along with Will Ashcroft, and then the 3 rookies. On my midfield bench, I've got Sid Draper, Devon Robinson, and Erasmus. So that's how my midfield stacks up. In my forward line, I've got Tristan Sherry, Tom De Koning, and on my bench, I've got Archer Reid and I'll explain why I've paid up a bit more to have Archer Reid. In my forward line, I've got Jason Horne-Francis, Jack Macrae, Bailey Smith, Matthias Philippou, Caleb Daniel, and Elijah Hewitt. And on my bench, I've got Hannaford and Fullerton. And as my flex, I've got Matthew Flynn from West Coast. So that's how my team is structured up at the moment. But as I said, I wanted to get Tom Lynch in my forward line, and I've got him at at F6. The problem with that is that I've only got $900 and I can't get him in. So that means that I'll need to make some changes elsewhere to get that cash. So with that, I took out Hannaford on my forward bench, and I moved Hewitt there to my bench, and I brought in Tom Lynch. But again, like I said, I need some cash. So the change I made, now I mentioned in my last video that I was pretty big on Flanders, but the problem with Sam Flanders is he does have the round 2 bye, and again, as I explained in my last video, it's okay, round 2 bye, it's only with GWS. You could get away with it if you really wanted him. But I also mentioned how big I am on Jack Sinclair. So what I did was I took out Flanders and I brought in Jack Sinclair. So I've got Sinclair and Sheasel now as my 2 primos in my defense. So I'm just trying to line them up so that they're in the correct spot based on price. Excuse me, sorry. Okay, so I've got that set up. Now I don't think that gives me enough cash. So I'll get in Tom Lynch. I'll just bring him into the team, so he's sitting there. And now I've got 116k. So I could bring in a really cheap rookie, but that's just pointless. You want to bring in someone who's going to make you money, and I want to bring in Elijah Hewitt. And so with Lynch, the other reason why I wanted to bring in Lynch, going through some of his stats. Let's see, what have I? So with Lynch, what I like about it is that he plays for Richmond, so no early buy. So that's an advantage. He's priced at an average of 42. So that's pretty cheap for someone like Tom Lynch, who only 2 years ago averaged 94. Now again, I know what you're all thinking, and I'm thinking the same thing. His age, the soft tissue injuries, all of those things, and that he's not going to get to 94 again. Especially with Richmond's team now, it's different. A lot of young kids there. He's not going to be getting as much ball into the forward line, and even the quality of ball is not going to be the same. So I'm not expecting an average of 94. But all we want from Tom Lynch is for him to keep fit and play at least that first month of football, that 4 to 6 weeks of football, and hopefully he can average at least a 70. So that's 30 points up on his average at the moment. He will be a great cash grab. We can get in, get the cash, and then cash him out. Alternatively, if things don't really work with Tom Lynch, we've also got Jack Martin, who's also around that price point. The only thing with Jack Martin, of course, is that he has the bye. He plays for Geelong now, and he has that bye in round 3. And you don't want to have too many players on the bye, even your value players as well. So I'm hoping Tom Lynch works out, and I guess we'll just see how we go over the next sort of month to 2 months, next couple of months. We'll see how we go. So I got Lynch in, and I'll bring back in Hewitt. Now I can't afford Hewitt. I really do want Elijah Hewitt because he definitely is going to play. Now the advantage of having Hewitt there is, I guess, because it's West Coast and they do rate Elijah Hewitt as well. So I think they definitely will play him. So I definitely want him in. So that means I need cash from somewhere. Now I could probably get rid of Draper and get some cash there because he's 190k, but I don't want to do that because he is one of those value rookie, midfield rookie picks. He's going to play round 1 and he'll make some great cash for us. So I don't want to do that. So the change that I've made, and yes, we'll get to Sam Walsh, the injury and all that in a moment, but the next change that I made, and I made this change before I heard about the Sam Walsh news, and this kind of hurt me to make this change, but Nick Dacos. Now, a lot have chosen him. I can't, just the idea of not starting with Nick Dacos does bother me. I said from the moment he was drafted that I'm going to start this kid every year for his entire career in the AFL. But this year, he's got an early bye in round 3. Now, to have a primo on an early bye can set you back compared to sort of your other super coaches that you're up against, especially early in the season. So that goes against him. The other thing is that we have heard that he has got plantar fasciitis. Now, as we know with plantar fasciitis, it's an inflammation of that band of tissue, the plantar fascia under the foot. Now, if you've got that problem, which Nick Dacos has, and of course the Pies are going to cover it over and say he's okay, he's fine. But that can be excruciating pain. A lot of other players have suffered from plantar fasciitis and it's really affected their season. Now, Nick Dacos is so good, he will play through the pain. But I don't think he's going to be at peak if he's entering the season with this issue. It's going to bother him, it'll annoy him, and he, again, won't be at his full 100% if he's going into round 0 and round 1 with this issue. And I think that he is going to have this issue going into round 0. The other issue with Nick Dacos is that in round 0, he plays GWS, which means that it is likely he's going to have the Toby Bedford tag. Now, if he gets that tag, and Toby Bedford, is fair to say, is probably the best tagger in the competition, is every chance that he reduces Nick Dacos' score to below 100 in that game. It is possible. As good as Nick Dacos is, Bedford could really shut him down. Now, in round 1, the Pies play Port Adelaide. It's at the G. You'd expect Dacos to do well, but it is likely that they'll probably send Willem Drew to Nick Dacos and he'll give him some attention, try and slow him down. He's not going to get as low as a score as what he probably will get with the Bedford tag, but nevertheless. His score's still going to be affected to some degree. So with all of those reasons, I have decided not to start Nick Dacos, and instead I am going to start, or the player I initially put in here was Caleb Sarong. Now, my biggest regret last year, I was huge on Caleb Sarong. If you had a chance to see any of my videos in the preseason last year, I was talking him up. I knew he was going to get off to a good start. And then at the last minute, I had Sarong in my team the whole preseason. At the last minute, I made some other changes to my teams. I needed cash somewhere, and I think I dropped Sarong to Rosie, and that was terrible. That really affected my start to the season, as we know how Rosie went compared to how Sarong started last year. So I'm again big on Sarong, and I'll explain to you why I'm so big on Sarong. Now, he's got no early bye, which is great. That's a tick. He has the round 13 bye with St Kilda, so that's the good bye. It's only Freo and St Kilda on that bye, which is going to be great for the other mid-season byes to have Caleb Sarong in your team. Now, Sarong is priced at an average of 115. I personally feel that he could push up to that 120 mark this year. Now, he's only 24 years of age. So he's sort of that young to experienced type of player. And in his first 5 years in the competition, in the home and away season, he has averaged 81, 83, 90, 111 and 115 last year. I love that trajectory. It's just on the up and up, and I really do feel that he'll be pushing 120 this year. He had scores last year of 150 and 170. Now, he's not known for his high ceiling scores compared to some other players, but he's very consistent. So he's still averaged around that 115 mark, getting scores around that score of that 115, hence his average. So I'm pretty big, pretty strong on Sarong. So I got Sarong in, and I was really happy with that. Now that allowed me to then get Hewitt back into my team on the bench at F7. And so at that stage, I was pretty happy with things looking at my team. And then Sam Walsh does his hamstring. So he is out now for a few weeks. Now, yeah, sure, he'll come back, he'll recover. He should be there for round one. But with players like Sam Walsh, Tom Lynch, and Clayton Oliver's same but different. So with Lynch and Walsh, they've got a history of soft tissue injuries. I think Sam Walsh hasn't started the preseason for a few years. Hasn't started round one for a few years because of injury. And my rule with those three players was that if they had even the slightest little interruption, little injury, I just was not going to pick them. I did not want to take the risk with those three players. And with Sam Walsh getting the hamstring, that now rules him out. So I don't want Sam Walsh. But I do want a primo in there. Now, that's not to say Sam Walsh isn't going to start and start well and play well. I mean, he still did well last year, and still ended up averaging, 108. So, it's very likely that he could still have a very good year. I just don't want to take that risk starting with him. Now, in that sort of top 10 to 20 or 10 to 15 primos that I want in that spot, the only player that really sort of stands out to me that I really want in that team is Zach Butters. Now, the reason why I want Zach Butters, I probably don't need to really explain it, but it's always good to support your decisions with stats and research. So with Butters, no early buy, so that's an advantage. He's priced at an average of 120, but again, I could see him pushing 125 with Butters. I really can see that with him. In his first 6 years in the competition, so in the home and away season, he's averaged 60, 87, 81, 96, 113, and 120. So again, the trajectory on the way up. Now, he's also only 24 years, just like Caleb Sarong. So he's in that young but experienced age bracket. And so I think he looks good for at minimum 120 up to a 125 average. I'm pretty bullish on Zach Butters. Now, last year he had scores of 156, 159, and 175, and he's just going to get better this year, just like Sarong. They will both be better, in my opinion. So I want Butters there. Now, what am I supposed to do? Because I can't fit him in. I can't afford him. I'm a little bit short. I can afford, as you can see from Jack Steele, Sam Walsh, Errol Goulden. I can afford players around that 585k mark, but Butters is 648k. So how am I going to fit him in? So I had to reduce or get rid of a player. So this is where I started to look a little bit deeper with these rookies and the midfield high-end rookies. And I really wanted to fill my team with these high-end rookies. And I thought if I made a few little changes, bringing them in, then that would I would then be able to afford Zach Butters. So these are the changes I made. So I took out Coleman. Now with Coleman, he's got the early buy. So in that round 3. So I think that plays as an advantage to me. I know that I did reason that it's good to start with him because he's just cheap and value, but he'll only have played one game, or he's only one price rise. So is what I meant to say, when he gets his buy. So I might not get him as cheap as he was, but if he's just smashing it out of the park, maybe I can change some things around and trade him in. But I think at this stage I'm happy to just leave him out. I also took out James Leake. Again, there's no need really to do that because with the rookies, they're kind of like placeholders. So whilst I am structuring up this way, it'll still all be dependent if they're named in round 1. But this is the team I've got set up for now. So now with taking out those 2 players, I can actually bring in Butters. What I'll do is I'll just take out Sarong. I want to get the order right, in line with price. So I've got Butters in there and I've got Sarong in there. So now what I want to do is, again, get these high-end players. So the first thing that I will do is bring in, is it Toby? I think it's Toby. Travalia? Yeah, Toby Travalia. So he's 172k. He is priced at an average of about 40. So if he can average 70 this year, that would be great. Now, Travalia averaged 143 Supercoach points in the Coates League last year. Now, they're saying that he should start round 1, so I'm happy to have him in my side. He'll be a popular pick. I don't really need to get into too much detail with him. Now, that leaves me with 154k. So I will bring in a player that's been talked about quite a bit, is Caleb Smith. So Caleb Smith is priced at 25. We want to get him, if he's playing, at least if he can average 55, that would be great as a minimum. He averaged 77 fantasy points in the VFL in 2024, and he is expected to play. The rumor is that he's expected to play across halfback. Now, we'll see how that goes over the next 2 weeks with training reports and then the preseason games match simulation, and then we'll see if he lines up round 1. So I'm happy now with my defense. I'm going to keep it that way. Now, with my defenders, I will just quickly explain, just quick stats of the other players and why I've kept them in my team. Now, Harry Sheezel, why I'm going to keep him there is because, firstly, he has no early buy, so I'm really happy with that. Now, he's priced at an average of 118. Before I make this point, one of the biggest concerns with Harry Sheezel that I've heard listening to podcasts and reading articles and so forth is that many people are concerned with the fact that he's playing in the midfield and that a lot of his points he got playing across halfback. Now, his role is being taken over by Caleb Daniel and maybe a few others going through there. So Sheezel will play predominantly midfield. Now, it's interesting, the stat that I like for Sheezel is that in 8 games last year, his CBA percentage was over 47%. And in those 8 games, he averaged 128, which is more than what his current average is. Now, that says to me that Sheezel can score when he's playing in the midfield and can actually score quite well. Now, he may sort of incur the attention of a tagger because of that, playing in the midfield. We'll just have to see how that goes. That's with every high-quality player. They're going to get a tag. Unless you're a Bontempelli, for example, when you're playing in the midfield, you're going to get a tag and it's probably going to affect you. Still want to have him in, and he's going to be a very popular pick. Now, I've kept in Callum Mills, and the reason why, now he does have the round 3 bye. So with Callum Mills, just having a look at him, so he's 357k, and he is priced at an average of, where are we we arrow this down? So whilst it says 73, he's more or less priced at an average of around 66. I think he's too good value not to start with. Even though he'll have one price increase before his buy, I'm actually happy to start with him. So price and average of 66, I think he could average in the 90s, which means that he will make cash. And if he only stays in that average of the 90s, he'll make cash, and then we can upgrade him to a premium. But I actually think if he gets that inside mid-roll and he's fit and he'll play every game, I actually think he could average over 100. We've got to remember that in 2021 and 2022, he averaged 112 and 115 for the season. So he's got that potential to score well. But I think he's still too good value to pass up, even though he's got that round 3 bye. And then just for some of the other players I've kept Saad El Hawley. Now, there is talk, of course, that he may actually not line up in round 1, but we'll cross that bridge when it comes, if he in round 0 for that matter, for Essendon. If he's not there, then we're just going to have to find a rookie that is playing. Now, with El Hawley, why he's very popular in many Supercoach teams this year is he's a mature age recruit, picked up in the mid-season draft last year, and in his first 12 games in the VFL last season, he actually averaged 100 fantasy points. So that says to me that if they can play him on the wing or half-back or something like that, then he'll do well. So we'll see how we go with El Hawley. With the other players, I've kept Jack Sinclair. He could play round 1, playing in defence as a key position defender. And then, of course, Riley Bice I've kept in. He averaged 124 Supercoach points in his final 8 games in the VFL last year. So let's see if he gets to line up round 1. Now, with my midfield, I'm actually very happy with how my midfield is looking now. I've only made those changes, getting Dacos out and Walsh out and bringing in Butters and Sarong. So my starting 8 on field stays the same. Draper I've kept, but I've got rid of Robertson and Erasmus. Now, I think actually Erasmus could line up round 1, so he could be pretty good value. But like I said, I've got full faith in those high-end midfield rookies. So I have got in there, I have chosen Ed Allen, and I have chosen Harvey Langford. Now, I can't afford Harvey Langford. We'll get to that in a moment. I'm going to make some changes in my forward line to be able to afford Harvey Langford. And the flex position, but we'll get to that. But the reason why I've chosen Ed Allen, now Ed Allen is priced at an average of 40. Let's just bring him up. Yeah, so he averaged 60 last year in his 2 games, but he's priced at an average of 40. Now, he scored 94 in that round 24 game where he had 65% CBAs. Now, at this stage, the rumor is that he could actually replace Tom Mitchell as that third midfielder along with DeGoey and Nick Dacos. So I think there was another report, that where Nick Dacos was actually sort of talking him up a bit as how well he's going in his preseason. So let's just see how that goes. I think if he lines up round 0 and he's lining up in the midfield, then he's an absolute must, I think, because they've got that role for him lined up. I reckon that is his. Yes, Collingwood have Harry Di Matteo. They also have, of course, Finn McRae, very popular in the last few years. But I think Ed Allen, that is his spot. So I've got him in my team for now. And of course, the other person I mentioned was Harvey Langford. Now, he's priced at an average of 38. And he averaged 152 in the Coates League last year. And I actually think he will play round 1 for Melbourne. But I can't afford him at the moment, so I need to make some changes in my forward line. Now, before I get to my forward line, my rucks have not changed. Actually, even before I get to my rucks, I just want to again mention why I've kept some of the players, just to share some brief stats on some of these players and why I've kept them in my midfield. I don't need to explain too much about Bont, but I will anyway, because he's awesome and I love him. So again, no early buy for the Western Bulldogs. That's an advantage. He's priced at an average of 126. Now in 2024, Bont had scores of 157, 162, 182, and 186. You do not want to miss out on those scores. Yes, he's a little bit pricey. Of course, that's what you expect from Bont, but you basically get a guaranteed captain option every week. And that's what I love about Bont. I think he's worth paying up for. So I've got Bont in my team. Apparently he's having a ripper of a pre-season. He even came second in the Dogs 2K time trial. And I think he could get back up to pushing for that 130 this year. I really do. So very happy with Bont. Now with Oliver, again, plays for Melbourne, no early buy, priced at an average of 83. So priced at an average of 83. Now, as we know with Oliver, we all know his history. He's averaged over 120 4 years in a row up until the 2023 season. And then, of course, in 2024, he had a pretty bad season. As I mentioned before, with these players like Sam Walsh and Tom Lynch, soft tissue injuries, and that's why I'm cautious. With Oliver, yes, the hand injury and other injuries, but of course, he had some other off-field issues as well. So I want to see a full preseason from him with no disruptions, no interruptions, no issues, and if that's the case, then he's in my team and he'll be in many teams. So I'm very happy to keep him. Will Ashcroft, why I want to start him? Well, firstly, everyone knows what he did in the grand final last year. He does have the round 3 bye, so it's a bit of a compromise for me. But he's priced at an average of 82, and I think he could push well over 100 this season. As I said, he had that 128 in the granny last year, and he's started off his preseason really well. He's having a full preseason, fully fit. They're expecting a big year from Will Ashcroft at Brisbane, and I think he's going to have a huge year. Now, yes, I could wait for that one price increase and bring him in later, but I don't know. I've just got a gut feeling about Will Ashcroft, and I just want to start him. I think he'll be playing in the midfield along with Dunkley and Neil. He'll be a primary, one of their prime midfielders all year, and I'm really excited by what he can do this year and what he can average. So I'm happy to start him. With the Rooks, so very quickly, Jagger Smith, priced at an average of 40, averaged 154 in the Coates League, and will likely start in round 1, maybe off the bench, maybe rotate through the midfield or half-back, half-forward, who knows. But he's a ball magnet, and I think Carlton do want to play him through that midfield if possible. And then we've got Levi Ashcroft, priced at an average of 39, averaged 152 in the Coates League. Now, will he play midfield? I don't think he'll actually go through the midfield, but when you got players like obviously Will Ashcroft, and then you got Dunkley and Neil and so forth, and Levi will probably go through there, but likely play across half forward. But nevertheless, priced at an average of 39, I think he's got that ability to still average around 70, 80 points. But we'll see how we go with him. Josh Smiley, priced at an average of 37, averaged 129 in the Coates League, having a ripper of a pre-season, and so that's why I'm happy to keep him. So that's what I've got for my midfield. Now in my rucks, I've kept Tristan Sherry, and again, no early buy with North Melbourne, so that's a bonus. Now he's priced at 120. Priced at an average of 120. Now he's only turning 26 this season, so he's really getting into his prime. This was his first breakout year. So, I guess that makes sense. So, this was his breakout year. Last year was his breakout year, so it's his first year of having a really good Supercoach season, and only 26, which just says to me that he's just going to get better. So I actually think he could push into that 120 to 125 average. We got to remember too that he averaged 149 in his last 5 games in 2024. So very happy with Tristan Xerri. So with Tom De Koning, again, no early buy, plays for Carlton, priced at an average of 101. He had 79% and above CBAs in 9 games last year, and in those 9 games, he averaged 119. Now, in those games, I didn't actually check the stats of how many of those 9 games were with Pitternet or without. I would say most of them were without Pitternet. But come round 1, if there's no Pitternet and Tom De Koning is lining up in the ruck, first ruck, then he's a lock, absolute lock. Now, Archer Reid, why I've kept Archer Reid, I could go a 99k player there, but we have, with the fixture, we've got confirmed dates and times for the first 15 rounds of the year, and the West Coast play on Sunday 11 times. And that's the most of any team by about 4, I think. If it's possible that he could be selected in the team. Now, I've got him selected on my bench, and he's got the ruck forward as well, which is, of course, an advantage. But by having him a West Coast player there, and having all these games on Sunday, it really does free me up for my captaincy loophole on the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday games as well. And that's why I want to have a West Coast player there. But I want to have Archer Reid there because there is talk of Archer Reid possibly playing in round 1. Now, having said all of that, if Harry Boyd is picked up by St Kilda, then I will definitely take the punt on him and get rid of Reid and get a Harry Boyd. I'm pretty sure St Kilda has 7 Sunday games, so that's not too bad as well. But with Harry Boyd, he won the Sanford McGarry Medal in 2024, and he averaged 159 Supercoach points. It's amazing. So absolutely, if the Saints pick him up, I'll be putting him on my bench. Now, moving on to my forward line. So I've kept my 6 here, my forward 6. Now, the reason why I've kept them, Horne-Francis, again, no early buy, Port Adelaide, priced at an average of 99. And I think could push the 105 to 110 average, in my opinion. Now, the reason why I'm so confident is because in his first 3 seasons in the home and away season, he's averaged 63, 77, and 99. So again, the upward trajectory. Very, very confident that he'll do well based on that. The stat I love with Jason Horne-Francis is that he turned up 9 times last season. And in those 9 games where he turned up, he averaged 120. So the question is, do you think he'll turn up more than 9 times this year? I think he will. And if he does, and he's averaging 120 or higher, because he's going to be better this year, another preseason, full preseason, I think just everything is pointing up for Jason Horne-Francis. I'm very, very confident in him, and I think a lot of Supercoach teams will have him in the team. So Jack McRae, again, no early buy, plays for St Kilda, so he's got the round 13 buy, and very happy with that, of course, because come mid-season time, I think Jack McRae will be thereabouts at the top end of the forwards average. Now, he's priced at an average of 72. So where is he? There he is. So he's priced at an average of 72. Now, he averaged 115 only 2 years ago playing in the midfield. Now, of course, we're not expecting him to average 115, but I would take even an average sort of in the high 90s, which I think he could potentially average. That would mean, based on this year, that he will be in the top 5 forwards for the year. So I really do think he'll be up there. As some of you may know, after the trade period, the Saints list manager said that McRae wants to be a premium mid again. So the fact that the Saints list manager came out and said that means that that's probably something that they've agreed upon, St Kilda and McRae, that McRae is going to play full-time mid. So that then again gives me a lot of confidence to pick him. So Bailey Smith, of course, is another obvious one. These are all vanilla picks everyone will have. But Bailey Smith, he does have the round 3 bye playing for Geelong, but I really do think that that is worth it for someone like him at his price, because he's only priced at an average of 72. And we've got to remember that back in 2022, he averaged 98. And, you know, playing for Bevo, he was all over the place. Bit of midfield, bit of wing, half forward, this and that. But I think he'll be playing full-time mid, maybe with a little bit of... well, he'll probably push forward as a midfielder, may play a little bit of wing, but I think he'll be a midfielder. And very happy for him to average, you know, I guess in the high 90s, but I think he'll average well over 100. Now I've kept Matthias Philippou, again, playing for St Kilda, no early bye, has the round 13 bye, again, another good bye round to have, priced at an average of 58. So I'll just find him here. There he is, priced at an average of 58. Now he's expected to play full-time mid. And we'll remember from last year in round 17, 18 and 21, he had 63% CBAs, 68% and 57% CBAs. And in those 3 games where he had the high CBAs, he averaged 99. He's in his 3rd year, so I'm expecting a bit of a 3rd year breakout from him as well. So I'm very happy to have him. Caleb Daniel, probably the most picked player, maybe, along with Bailey Smith. I'm not sure, but I think he'll be very, very popular. No early buy, again, great advantage. Priced at an average of 50, which is just awesome for his role. Playing exclusively halfback. And we've got to remember too, with his history, from 2019 to 2023, he averaged 99, 104, 94, 91, and 93. Even last season, if you take out his sub-affected games, he actually averaged 75 in the home and away games. So, and he was being played out of position. Bevo really messed around with him. So he's just an automatic selection for everyone. So I'm really happy with that. But again, like I said, I still need that M11, and that is going to be Harvey Langford. The only way I can afford that is if I get rid of Matt Flynn. And I am happy to do that. I know that a lot of other super coaches out there have Matt Flynn or have like a Max Gawn or a Sean Darcy there. I've decided to put another high-end rookie that's going to make cash and put all my extra money into my best 22, which of course my rookie in my flex position could do very well as well, and I could have him there too. So what I've decided to do is I'll just get in Langford, just bring him in to my bench, and then for my flex, I have decided on, let's see if I can afford him. Whoops, hold on, just fix that. I can. So Xavier Lindsay from Melbourne, 158k, priced at an average, of around sort of some of these other players around the 39, 40 kind of mark. And I think he will be one of the best cash cows this year. And I think we're going to have actually one of the best cash cow seasons this year. With Lindsay, he averaged 121 in the Coates League. I think him and Langford are going to start in round 1, but again, we'll just wait and see. And I've also decided to take out Fullerton out of my my F8 position, and I'll bring in Connor Stone. Now, the reason why I've chosen Connor Stone, we know that he was a forward in the first few years in the AFL, but he switched to defense in 2024. He averaged 84 fantasy points from 15 games in the VFL last year. There is talk that he's expected to replace Cumming and or Peatley. So his 4 games in the AFL last year were all sub-affected games. He was pursued by Essendon over this last trade period, but he ended up re-signing with GWS for another 2 more years, and that kind of says to me that he is going to be used across maybe halfback or wing, but we'll see how we go. So that's pretty much my team. Again, I'll run through the team quickly for you. D1 Sheasel, D2 Sinclair, D3 Mills, D4 Travalia, D5 Sardell Hawley, and D6 Caleb Smith. I've got Jack Sinclair and Riley Bice on my bench. In my midfield, I've got at M1 Bont, M2 Butters, M3 Sarong, M4 Oliver, M5 Will Ashcroft, M6 Jagger Smith, M7 Levi Ashcroft, and M8 Josh Smiley. And on my bench, I've got Sid Draper, Ed Allen, Harvey Langford. In my rucks, I've got Tristan Sherry and Tom De Koning, and on my bench, I've got Archer Reid from West Coast. And in my forward line, I've got at F1 Jason Horne-Francis, F2 Jack McRae, F3 Bailey Smith, F4 Matthias Philippou, F5 Caleb Daniel, F6 Tom Lynch. And on the bench, I've got Elijah Hewitt and Connor Stone. And in my flex position, I've got Xavier Lindsay. So this is my January update team. This could again very well change in February, and again right up until round 1, as we know. We'll get some surprises. Some players are not named, so we'll have to make some changes. But for now, I'm pretty happy with this team. Again, if you have any questions or thoughts, please leave them in the comment section. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next video.